Time of death, 11:32. The words sliced through the room like a knife. Doctor stepped back, gloves came off, clipboards closed. A billionaire declared dead. But across the room a woman screamed. Her voice cracked. Her yellow cleaning gloves shook as she pointed at the bed. "Wait, he's not dead." The doctors froze, then scoffed. One muttered, "She's just the cleaner." Another waved her off. But Angela Johnson didn't move. Her eyes were wide, wet with tears. Her chest heaved. She was trembling, but certain. "No," she whispered louder this time. "Look at him, please, look at him." Every head turned, every face doubted, and then the billionaire's chest twitched, once, then again. Angela gasped, her knees nearly gave out. Her whisper cracked into a cry. "I told you, he's not gone." The room fell silent, the arrogance faded, and for the first time, the doctors weren't so sure. But to understand that cry in the hospital, to understand why her words cut so deep, you have to rewind. Because this story wasn't just about one billionaire. It was about two worlds colliding, his world and hers. He lived above the skyline, Tribeca penthouse, glass walls staring down at the city, art that cost more than most people's entire lives, a staff for every detail, chef, driver, assistant, luxury stacked on luxury. Summers, the Hamptons, behind gates on white beaches, glasses of champagne under twinkling lights, flights, private, Teterboro jet on standby, fueled and waiting. Magazines wrote his name. Networks quoted his opinions. In boardrooms his word carried weight like law. People called him untouchable. And then Angela Johnson, 32. Brooklyn-born, young but already carrying the weight of too much responsibility. She lived in a walk-up with peeling paint, shared with her younger sister and a cousin who'd fallen on hard times. Bills piled up fast. Rent notices slipped under the door. Her world ran on an MTA Metro card. The 3 train rattling her home at midnight after shifts, her hands raw from bleach, gloves that barely fit. Some days she cleaned offices in Manhattan before dawn and hospitals in the evening. One paycheck stretched like rubber bands, always close to snapping. To the world, she was invisible. Cleaner. Housekeeper. Background noise in a city that never looks twice. But that day, fate put her in his room. A billionaire with walls of glass, and a housekeeper with sneakers worn from long walks. Doctors in Rolexes. Assistants with iPads. The billionaire's son in a suit, scrolling his phone. And Angela, apron wrinkled, yellow gloves, hair pulled back tight. She didn't fit in that picture. She wasn't supposed to. But when the room declared him gone, she was the only one who spoke. And here's the part most people ignore. We see his penthouse. We see his Hamptons estate. We see the champagne glass in his hand. But how many see her? Angela, young, working nights while the city sleeps, counting change to reload her Metro card, carrying the weight of family on her back. Most people only see the billionaire's luxury, but almost nobody sees Angela's struggle. If you believe the voices of the overlooked deserve to be heard, hit subscribe now. And if you won't, drop a comment and explain why you think stories like Angela's don't matter. Let's see if anyone agrees with you. It started small, not with shouting, not with anger, but with looks. The kind of looks you feel before you see. Doctors glancing her way, then at each other. A quick smirk, a shake of the head, as if her presence itself was out of place. Angela knew those looks. She had collected them all her life, on subways, in stores, in lobbies where she scrubbed marble floors while men in suits pretended she wasn't there. Now she felt them again in that hospital room. One doctor cleared his throat, his words sharp, precise. "Miss, this is an intensive unit. Only staff belong here." Angela held her mop tighter. "I was told to finish in here." He exhaled, annoyed. "Then finish quickly." Another doctor chuckled, not even lowering his voice. "Unbelievable. A housekeeper in ICU telling us what to do." The nurse beside him laughed softly. "Let her talk. Gives her a sense of importance." Angela kept working, quiet, focused, but her eyes, they kept drifting back to the man on the bed, the billionaire, his chest, his neck, the small movements nobody else noticed. She whispered under her breath, "Something's there." The billionaire's son walked in, phone in hand, suit pressed, shoes polished. He barely looked at Angela, but when he did, it was with irritation. "Why is she still here?" he asked the doctors. "My father deserves dignity, not this." Angela turned toward him, voice trembling. If it was your father, wouldn't you want someone watching closely? The son scoffed. That's why we pay doctors, not cleaners. And then the chief surgeon stepped forward, tall, confident, Columbia graduate, Mount Sinai residency. He carried prestige like a second skin. His voice was calm but dismissive. Ma'am, we've done everything. Please, don't make this harder than it is. Angela's reply came low, almost breaking. I've seen something you didn't. The words cut through the room. Not because they were loud, but because they didn't shake. That was Angela. Quiet, observant. Her strength didn't come from titles, it came from years of survival. From Brooklyn rent notices shoved under her door, from double shifts that left her knees aching, from being dismissed so many times she no longer flinched when people laughed. And in that room, they did laugh. One doctor muttered, "She's just the cleaner." Another smirked, "What could she possibly know that we don't?" The billionaire's son shook his head. Enough. Get her out. But Angela didn't move, didn't back down, didn't lower her eyes. Her voice steadied. Maybe the things you don't bother looking for. And with that, the room shifted. Not enough to believe her. Not yet. But enough to feel the weight of her words. Because Angela wasn't what they thought she was. She wasn't fragile. She wasn't ignorant. She wasn't blind to detail. She carried something else. A truth. A secret no one expected. And when it came out, it would turn their arrogance into shame. The tension didn't fade. It spread. Small comments at first, low voices, sharp edges. A doctor waved his hand toward the door. "Miss, step outside. You've done enough." Angela shook her head slowly. "I haven't." He turned to another doctor, whispering like she couldn't hear. Unbelievable. Imagine taking advice from housekeeping. At the door, a security guard leaned on the frame. His eyes dropped to her mop bucket, then back up at her. He smirked. "Ma'am, you're out of your depth. Let the professionals handle this." Angela's jaw tightened. She answered without turning her head. "If the professionals handled it, I wouldn't be speaking." Whispers filled the room. One nurse muttered, "She's wasting time." Another rolled her eyes, "Always think they know better." A voice from the back, soft but cruel, probably looking for attention. Another reply, sharper, or a lawsuit. Laughter followed. Quick. Dismissive. Angela didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the bed, the billionaire's chest, his hand. Something was there, something they weren't seeing. Her lips parted. She whispered under her breath, "Come on, show them." The billionaire's son snapped, voice raised this time. "Enough. My father deserves peace, not interruptions from her." Angela turned, tears in her eyes. "Peace? You call this peace? Look at him. Just look." The son shook his head, refusing. The doctors crossed their arms. The guard stepped forward, ready to escort her out. Angela stayed rooted, her feet planted, her voice sharper now. "If you send me out, you'll regret it." For a second, silence. The kind that wraps around a room and squeezes. Everyone stared at her, some angry, some mocking, most dismissive. And then, Angela's eyes widened, her chest heaved. She pointed at the bed, her voice breaking into a scream. "Wait! Look at him!" The room froze. Every head turned, and what they saw would shatter their certainty. Angela's scream tore through the sterile air. "Wait, he's not dead!" For a heartbeat, the room froze. Then the noise came. A doctor near the monitors scoffed. "This is nonsense. He's gone." Another muttered, voice dripping with condescension. "I've been in medicine 20 years. I don't take orders from housekeeping." Angela's throat tightened. Her words broke through anyway. "I'm not giving orders. I'm telling you, he's alive." Laughter rippled across the room, cold, cruel, dismissive. A nurse leaned toward her colleague. "She's delusional, probably overworked." The other whispered back, "Or just desperate for attention." Angela heard every word. She didn't move, didn't back down. At the door, a young intern pulled out her phone, hit record, whispered, "This is wild. She's arguing with the whole team." Another staffer raised his phone too. The red recording light glowed. Murmurs filled the corners. "She's losing it. This will go viral." Angela's hands trembled inside her yellow gloves, but her voice rose, cracking under the weight. "You'll bury him alive if you don't look again." The billionaire's son pushed off the wall, voice sharp. "Enough. My father is gone. Let him rest." You're humiliating him." Angela turned, tears streaming. Her chest heaved as she shouted back, "Rest? You call this rest? Look at him. Look at him." For the first time, the son faltered. Eyes darted to the bed. He said nothing. The chief surgeon stepped forward, his tone cut through the chaos. "This woman is out of control. Security. Umingha." The guard straightened, took a step. His hand brushed the radio on his belt. Angela pointed at the billionaire's chest, voice breaking into desperation. "If you drag me out, you'll carry the guilt of letting a man die. That's on you." The guard hesitated. The room hushed for a moment. Another doctor tried to laugh it off, but his voice cracked. "This is absurd. She's not trained. She's not qualified. We've run every protocol." Angela's answer came fast. "You ran your tests. I used my eyes, and I see life." The words hung heavy. Every phone in the room kept recording. From the corner, a nurse whispered, almost nervous now. "Did you see that?" His hand moved. Heads turned. Doubt spread like a crack in glass, but no one admitted it out loud. Angela's voice shook the silence. "There, right there. You can't ignore that." Murmurs turned to argument. Doctors defending their call, staff whispering disbelief, security shifting uneasily, phones catching every second. The billionaire's chest shifted again. Small, subtle, but undeniable. Angela's scream split the room. "He's not dead." The arrogance in the room buckled, but pride held their mouths shut. "Now, pause for a second. If this was your father, your brother, your husband lying on that bed, would you want Angela silenced? If your answer is no, subscribe right now. If you still won't, comment why. Let the world see your reasoning." The room was loud a moment ago. Doctors arguing, nurses whispering, security waiting for the signal. And then the monitor flickered. The flat green line twitched, a small jump. Then another. The faintest sound. Beep. Pause. Beep. The noise cut through every voice. Angela pointed, her yellow gloves trembling. Her words broke out, desperate but clear. "There, look at it, he's alive." The chief surgeon stiffened. His reply came fast, defensive. "That's artifact. Static. The machine misreads sometimes." Angela shook her head, tears on her cheeks. "No, don't lie to yourselves. Look at him. Look at his chest." All eyes turned to the bed. The billionaire's ribcage lifted, barely. But it moved. A nurse gasped. Another whispered, voice tight, "I saw it." "He just moved." The surgeon snapped back. "You're mistaken. It's residual." Angela's voice cut him off, her throat raw but steady. "Residual doesn't breathe. He's fighting. You're just too proud to admit it." The billionaire's son staggered closer to the bed. His voice cracked for the first time. "Dad? No, this can't be." Angela turned to him, eyes locked. "Yes, he's here. Don't let them walk away from him." Then the youngest in the room stepped forward, the intern. Her hands shook against her stethoscope. She hesitated, glancing at the surgeon, then leaned over the billionaire. The room held its breath. Her head jerked up. Her voice broke the silence. "Pulse. It's faint, but it's there." The air changed. Shame spread across white coats. The surgeon's jaw clenched. A doctor muttered, almost to himself, "Impossible." The nurse whispered again, "She's right." Angela's hands lowered slowly. Her chest heaved. Her words came out through tears. Soft, but sharp. "I told you, you almost buried him alive." The billionaire's son covered his face with his hands, voice shaking. "You were ready to put him in the ground." No one answered, not a single word. And in that silence, the balance shifted. The cleaner they dismissed, the woman they mocked, was the only one who had spoken truth. The intern's words hung in the air. "Pulse, it's faint, but it's there." The room froze. Every doctor, every nurse, even security. No one could argue with what they heard. The billionaire's son stepped forward, voice shaking with rage. "Explain this, all of you, right now." The chief surgeon straightened, his voice low, trying to steady. "These things happen. Sometimes the body presents false signs." The son snapped. "False signs? You declared him dead. You gave up on him. How does that happen?" Another doctor spoke quickly, almost stumbling. "It's possible the equipment misread. We've seen monitor errors before." The son cut him off with a shout. "Stop. Don't insult me with excuses. He's alive. She saw it. You didn't. Answer me." "How?" Silence followed. Not one of them dared respond. Angela stood by the bed, her gloves wet, her apron wrinkled. Her voice trembled, but it reached every corner of the room. I told you he wasn't gone." The son turned to her. For the first time he looked at her not as the cleaner, but as the one who had saved his father. His voice softened, breaking. You saw what they missed." Angela lowered her head slightly. "I only paid attention. That's all." The doctors exchanged uneasy glances. Whispers slipped between them. "We followed procedure. Vitals were absent. This doesn't make sense." The son's voice cut sharper than theirs. "Procedures? Protocols? You were about to bury my father alive. Do you hear yourselves?" A nurse whispered, almost ashamed. She was right the whole time. The chief surgeon clenched his jaw. "Sir, we need to stabilize him immediately. That's the priority now." The son didn't move. Didn't look away from Angela. "You'll stabilize him. But don't think I'll forget what happened here." Hours later, the story was already moving beyond the hospital walls. Staff had spoken. Administrators tried to get ahead of it. But the truth spread faster than their press releases. Morning headlines in New York read, "Billionaire declared dead, revived after staff error." Cable news anchors debated the arrogance of elite medicine. Talk radio callers raged about class and respect. Everyone wanted to know, who was the woman who refused to stay silent? The one who noticed what a room of experts missed. At first, Angela's name wasn't there. Just a hospital worker. But inside those walls, the staff knew. The doctors knew. The nurses knew. They couldn't walk past her without lowering their eyes. They couldn't speak her name without shame. And for the first time, Angela wasn't invisible. She had carried a billionaire back from the edge. And no one could take that truth away. But what happened in that room was only the beginning. Because her voice, dismissed for so long, was about to echo far beyond the hospital walls. The billionaire lived. Days in intensive care, weeks on machines, therapists by his side, retraining his voice. And when his voice finally returned, his first question wasn't about business, not about stocks, not about his penthouse. It was about the moment. He asked his son quietly, "Who kept me alive?" The room went still. Doctors hesitated. One started to speak, but the son cut in. "Not them. Her." He pointed to the corner where Angela stood nervously, wringing her gloves. The billionaire turned his head slowly, eyes meeting hers. His lips quivered. "You." Angela shifted uncomfortably. Her reply came soft. I couldn't walk away." The billionaire's voice cracked. "You gave me back my life." The hospital scrambled to contain it. Official statements were drafted. An unusual medical recovery. Protocols were followed. The patient displayed rare autonomic reflexes. But none of it mattered. Word had spread. Nurses whispered it in break rooms. Security talked about it in the cafeteria. Doctors muttered Angela's name in the hallways, unable to meet her eyes. And then the story broke outside the hospital walls. The New York Times headline read, "Cleaner refuses to leave room, saves billionaire from premature death." Cable news ran it on a loop. CNBC called it humbling. Fox News called it a lesson in respect. MSNBC said she saw what experts missed. Talk radio lit up across the city. Callers on 1010 Wins repeated her name. Angela Johnson, the cleaner from Brooklyn who changed everything. Reporters camped outside her building. Neighbors peeked from windows. One shouted, "Angela, how does it feel to be the woman who saved him?" Angela's response was simple. "I didn't save a billionaire. I saved a man. That's what mattered." Then came the press conference. The billionaire, still weak, seated in a wheelchair. Angela at his side, hands clasped, head down. Microphones filled the air. Cameras clicked. A reporter asked bluntly, "Why credit her? She's not a doctor. She's not trained." The billionaire leaned toward the microphone, voice slow but firm, because she saw what the experts didn't. Respect is not about degrees, it's about seeing people. The room went quiet. That line hit harder than any announcement, and it became the headline everywhere the next morning. Angela became more than a cleaner. She became a symbol, not of luck, not of accident, but of dignity. Workers across New York recognized themselves in her. The janitor in Midtown offices pushing a cart long after executives had gone home. The woman mopping floors in Penn Station while commuters rushed past. The man sweeping classrooms in Brooklyn's schools before the first bell rang. The ones always overlooked. Suddenly, they had a story that said, "You matter." You see things others don't. And the billionaire? He put money behind his words. At another press conference weeks later, his son at his side, he announced a new fund. Scholarships for cleaners' children. Full tuition to New York colleges. Millions dedicated, with Angela standing beside him when the papers were signed. Reporters asked her reaction. Angela lifted her head. Her words were steady, sharper this time. Respect isn't a privilege, it's a right. It doesn't begin with titles, it begins with seeing people. That quote echoed, shared on morning shows, printed on posters in union halls, repeated in churches, in schools, in subway cars. Angela Johnson, 32 years old, from Brooklyn, became a name known across the country. If you've ever been underestimated, Angela's story is your story. Don't just watch, subscribe now so stories like this never get buried. And if you won't, then comment why. Tell us why Angela's voice doesn't deserve to be heard, because silence is also a choice. But Angela's story didn't end with the scholarship fund, because the moment she refused to stay quiet in that ICU was only the beginning of her impact. What came next would reach further than anyone expected. This wasn't just about life or death. It was about respect. It was about justice. It was about dignity. A billionaire with doctors on every side, but it was the cleaner who saved him. A woman dismissed, ignored, laughed at, and yet she was the one who paid attention. She was the one who spoke up. She was the one who refused to walk away. Ask yourself something. How many times have you seen someone like Angela on the subway at midnight, mopping floors in Penn Station, cleaning offices in Midtown long after the executives go home? Did you ever stop to see them? Or did you look past the way those doctors looked past her? This is bigger than one hospital. It's bigger than one billionaire. It's about all of us. About the voices we dismiss, about the lives we overlook. So now it's your turn. Share your story in the comments. Tell us about the moment you were underestimated. Or the time you ignored someone you should have listened to. Because silence isn't neutral. Silence is a choice. The next life that's dismissed might be your own. Don't stay quiet. Don't just scroll away. Engage, speak, subscribe, so stories like Angela's never get buried again.